Part one.
Hey, this is Troy Taylor with the Championship Football Coaches Clinic podcast, sponsored by Rack Coach and Sports Workbook. We got Coach Strollo's back for clarification on part one. This is part two. Coach Strollo, how are you doing today? I know you're fired up. I'm fired up. Everybody's fired up. Thank you for coming back.
I just got back from Florida. I was just out in the driveway lifting weights. I lift weights and I wave to people as they go by, and it's kind of nice. Hey, Steve, how you doing?
John, how are you? My honor, my privilege.
How's it going?
Doing good. Pensacola, Florida.
Yeah, I was just down there. I was in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. You're welcome anytime.
Huh?
You're welcome anytime to stop by here. I'd love to have you here.
Well, I tell you what, we went down to see my wife's sister and hung out down there, and little tequila and whatever,
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it.
I love your stuff, man. I love your stuff. I have our linemen watching your stuff. I'm telling you, I love it. Love it.
I'm glad. I'm glad. I need love.
Yes, sir. Something the world could use a little more love, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, especially me. I could use a little more love. I tell you.
That's awesome.
I haven't coached in 3 years. So I'm kind of.
But once the coach, over the coach. You coach. You got great stuff. You're still having an impact. I'm telling you, you're still having an impact. You really are. No doubt.
I appreciate that. Thank you,
Troy. Thank you, Troy, for making this happen.
Hey, man, thanks for coming on, Coach.
Absolutely, 100%. Love it. Yeah, we're in the middle of spring ball. We just finished spring ball number 9. We got a scrimmage tomorrow. Then we're gonna have a spring game next week. So we're, it's going, it's moving, it's pretty good. Yeah, I've been spoiled, man. I've been very fortunate. The last couple of years, we've had 3 of the 5 first team all conference O linemen the last 3 years, 2 years in a row. So we've had 6 of the last 10. It's been a phenomenal. And then we had one guy who was the first team All American for us last year. Was a Gene Upshur, a finalist, didn't win it, but he was just anyway, it's just a joy to coach. As you know, you get those good ones who want to work and buy in. It's pretty awesome. It really is. Yeah, pretty pumped.
I congratulations. That's great.
Yes, sir.
I miss certain parts of it. I don't miss the staff meetings. Can I say?
Yeah. Oh shoot, that's funny. No, well, I'm glad you're on. I'm all ears, man. I want to hear you. All
right. Well, Troy was talking about the medicine balls and wanted to do that, and then Jim McNally wants to do something that we didn't plan on doing. I don't know if we get to it. I doubt it. I wanted to talk. I wanted to clarify some of the things that we talked about last time, and then watch some drill tape using the med balls, because that's what people were interested, or somebody was interested. I don't know.
Coach, I had 2 people when I bring your name up, they say the med ball guy.
The med ball guy.
I mean,
yeah.
I didn't know that you were so. I mean, I didn't know that you had such a impact on the med balls.
Well, who's the guy with My Pillow? He's the My Pillow guy. I'm the med ball guy. I probably sold a lot of them med balls for people.
I'm sure you have. Yes, you have.
But I wanted to clarify some things. I don't have my glasses on, but I can read this. The last podcast, I forgot a word, co-contraction. And co-contraction is when you lock a joint and you have say the bicep and the tricep working against each other. And that's pretty interesting concept. But what it does is it locks the joint. So it makes a strong and short. Okay, this camera screws me up. A strong short arm. Okay, I only learned that recently, that technical term, but I forgot because I haven't coached in 3 years. But let's start with the reason why we play with bent arms. Most offenders that you encounter, or one of the reasons why we play with bent arms. Most of the guys you encounter in the line of scrimmage, of course, are bent over, and they're trying to protect their chest with their hands, but they're not standing straight up. So by bending your arms into what we call hooks, okay, we can strike them in the chest. We have that articulation, and it's the pendulum punch. Who was that great guy from Northern Michigan. I forget his name. I'm bad with names.
Tunch Ilkin?
Buck
Nystrom. Buck Nystrom.
The pendulum punch. So we said, well, how do we train something like that, the pendulum punch? And we had already did some studies on what's winning for us. And one of the things that was winning for us was hand placement. But when you make your arm into a hook, you can hit a guy in the chest and your arm is 90 degrees. And we talked about that last time. When he's standing straight up, you can just push him and you're going to hit 90 degrees. When he's hunched over like this, you want to hit him at 90 degrees. You got to come up with the uppercut. Okay. One of my guys calls it an uppercut. Okay. So another thing I screwed up was the defender as a class 1 lever. He's a class 2 lever. I want you to think about a wheelbarrow. Okay. You got the wheel and you got the sticks and you got the bucket, and you load the bucket. Okay, and you pull up on the sticks, and the wheelbarrow lifts a lot of weight. You can put 500 pounds on a wheelbarrow walking around all day. That's a class. I want to make sure I'm not going to screw this up. That's a class 2 lever. Okay, I said it the other way around. But when we're using an opponent's body, when he's got his feet on the ground, let's say my elbow is the guy's feet, and we're pushing at his chest, we're using him like a wheelbarrow. And we used the example of a refrigerator last time. Okay, walking a refrigerator. Well, when we put our arms like this on a guy, we're turning him into a wheelbarrow, and the wheel is the fulcrum. Okay, the input arm is the long sticks, and the output arm is the bucket. And you can magnify with circular force at a 90-degree angle. You can magnify the force you generate quite a bit. And we believe that. And, the trick is to get the guy, okay? Get him in the chest, get him in the armpits, okay? So when you're trying to lift, I used to say lift, but then it dawned on me that it's really flip. We're flipping a tire, we're flipping the wheelbarrow, okay? When you're trying to lift him or flip him, okay, that you're using his body, okay? And I've said that on all my videos before, so it's nothing new. But we knew that flailing our arms, not having good tight hand placement, was going to screw you up. You're either going to be late or you're going to miss. I sit here and watch pro games, and these guys are missing with their hands because they're flailing. Their hands are apart, and they got a narrow target and they miss it, or they get caught for holding. Maybe they're trying to hold. Who knows? They probably are. But we knew that flailing, okay, just like a boxer, if he's boxing like that, he's going to get knocked out. We knew that flailing was bad, okay? We also knew that in order to stay on our feet, we needed to push our head off the block. Even if you put your head in on purpose, if you couldn't get your head off the block, you were probably going to fall down. And that was part of it. As a matter of fact, that was probably the original part of it. That came from me coaching defensive line, but that was a big deal. We didn't want to finish any blocks against anybody with our head on the guy. We didn't want it. And it turned out to be sort of a safety feature too, because we were making our hands precede the head later on. Now, this was about Penn State. But we gave up on the wind up and the holsters and the whole bit. We talked about that. Okay. So it was important for us to get that hand placement and practice it. And that's where the med balls came in. We also knew that by flipping a guy up, part of flipping is lifting, and lifting is against gravity. You lift weights against gravity. That's how it works. In order to lift something, your feet have to be under it. Okay. Now, you might not start with your feet under you. Okay. You might be, going under the chute or whatever you do. But in order to get him flipped up and hit him in the chest and get him flipped up, it'll bring your feet. So bringing your feet and getting your head off, you don't fall down. So we turned out to be, we were going to finish a lot more blocks successfully. And Coach, you probably say this. Both you coaches probably say this. Step on the guy's toes.
All the time. Yep.
Okay. So in order to step on his toes, that's an old Nebraska thing from 30, 40 years ago. In order to step on his toes, you have to get your feet close to him. You can't do it any other way. Jim used to say, feet drive climb, feet drive climb. He'd be climbing. So these are nothing new, but I think what we did was we sort of made them essential. We described what was actually happening, and that's the credit. If I have any credit, that's the credit I take. That was the whole deal in a nutshell. Okay. The other thing is we understood that we were, especially the center, we were playing in very close quarters. We didn't have that momentum. Okay. Very little chance to make momentum. So we had to teach these guys how to add some other force. Okay. When you're flipping a guy up, that's circular force. When you're throwing him, that's circular force. When you're hitting him at an angle, that's angular momentum, but he feels it as circular force because he's still a lever. So we needed to either have an angle or make one, and that's how we did it. But we knew one thing: you can push with your hands, you can push with your shoulder. I said this last time. You can push with your butt, you can push with your head, but you can only pull with your hands, and you can only throw with your hands. Okay, just the way it is. You can only torque with your hands. If you had horns coming out of your head, you could torque, but you don't. These are your horns right here. So you had to use them. You had to use your hands to add force. I can remember a guy, what was his name? He was a pretty good, he played for the Jets, and he was a coach, Radakovich.
Bad Rad.
He heard me talk about making force without momentum, and he just sat back there. We were at some clinic in Pennsylvania, and he said, this guy, he's just coaching Holden. And I laughed when I heard it. Larry Johnson told me, he said, Radakovich is making fun of you. He said, you're just coaching Holden. I said to myself, let's see your center. Let's see what he's doing. Because, the centers are in there. I mean, he's got the nose guard hit, so I ignored Radakovich, and I just kept talking about what I was talking about. Okay. We knew also that running the football, okay, and having one foot in the air resulted in what we called splashing. Okay, when you have one foot or both feet in the air, all you can make is momentum. You can't change, you can't add force, you can't change direction. So what I tried to liken it to is this: a water balloon. A water balloon's heavy, it's got mass to it, it's got a shape to it. You throw it against a wall. Okay, a defensive tackle that's dug both feet in the ground, and the water balloon bursts. It splashes. You can't maintain the integrity of your body with one foot in the air. So we went to the little steps, Coach. I don't know if you're a little stepper or you're a run off the ball guy, but to me, running off the ball works when you have an angle. You want to get there.
That's yeah.
Okay, but when a guy's in your helmet, you better get your feet on the ground because And if you're going to hit a guy and he's rocked up, you're going to splash off him unless you have so much momentum. If he's a little skinny guy, yeah, great, go get him. If he's a big, fat defensive tackle, you're going to bounce right off him, and you see it all the time. You go right over top of him. It's like hitting two cars hitting, and one goes over the top. You can't move that guy. Yeah. So we really liked to focus on the little steps and getting the feet on the ground. Okay. We knew that we had to maintain close contact with the ground, little steps. Okay. We stomped our feet, and that's stomping. I used to call it stomping ants because I thought that was a good analogy, but we didn't want to glide. We were stomp, not glide. Stomp, not glide. Okay. We stomped our feet. We didn't take little itsy bitsy steps. We hit the ground. And I think we did the analogy of standing on the scale. Okay. We knew with our feet not on the ground, we couldn't accelerate. Okay. Somewhere along the line, we surmised that our knees, rather than rolling our hips, our knees had to stay bent. Okay. Later on, we started calling that condensed, condensed arms, condensed legs. Initially, what we said was drag your tail. Say alligator drags the tail. Or he drags his tail because his legs are too short. We want short legs. We're going to drag the tail. And I said that constantly to my kids: drag your tail, drag your tail, drag your tail. And then when I wanted to sound like a scientist, I said, "Oh, we have to play condensed." But when I'm talking to coaches, I want them to understand we're not playing low. We're playing condensed. You know, I hear and read and see a lot of stuff now about hips low, and not pads low, hips low, and that's what we were doing. And we were doing it. I don't know. We started doing that, and I don't know when we started doing it, but it was pretty early. Okay. We also understood that too much bend in the knees and the elbows and the hips make you weak. It's just the way your muscles work. It's, you know, you get to a certain point where you've lost all mechanical advantage. So we settled on 90 degrees in the knee, 90 degrees in the elbow. And we thought that was why we did it. It just felt good. 90 degrees felt good. And the pendulum punch from Buck Nystrom, I believe that was a 90-degree elbow. I believe. I heard him talk one time. He looked at me. I was kind of young, you know, and I looked like I could have taken it. And he had a rolled up newspaper, and he came and he started whacking me with. I'm a football coach. I'm like 40 years old. He's whacking me in the head.
That sounds like him.
I loved it. You know, but I mean, he was hurt. The guy was a stud, man. You know. So anyway, going back to it. Okay. A co-contraction at the knees and a wide base was called the big tree. And you're going to see that on that video. And the big tree had the hips abducted. Ad is narrow. Feet abducted out. Okay. Just like a tree. We looked at a tree and we said, well, a tree is just a pole, but it's got roots that spread. Well, that's our feet, our roots. Okay. And we also realized that we wanted them externally rotated. And the reason for that was to keep us off our toes. Okay. We wanted to stomp with our whole foot on the ground. And Jim used to always talk about the instep. You know, we, like a skater, we talked about that last time, but we knew the big tree would allow us to stomp our feet into the ground. Okay. And that was a part of it. Okay. We called the bent arms the hooks. Why? I don't know. We just called it the hooks. The hand supination was part of it. You know, the V, not this. It was that, just like that, because that supination kept our elbows in and gave us the shoulder rotation. Okay. And also, because we could do this, we could place our hands any which way. Whatever surface we were presented, we could adhere to that surface with our hands. And the ball does, if it does nothing else, it gives you multiple surfaces. And if you don't hit the ball radiant, you're going to splash off it. We had to control our hands so that we hit the ball to the center of the ball. That was important. Okay. I just screwed up my thing here. Hang on. So
Ethan Stump said Gator legs, coach. I stole that from Strollo. How do you say coach's name there?
Siassi.
Steve.
And used it last year. So Ethan Stump, he's been watching all of them, coach.
Well, Stevie Chachi is a hell of a football coach.
Isn't he? That's my nephew.
Well,
God bless. He's coming
him.
on. He's coming on, Coach Strollo. He's coming on the show.
He's a dude. I mean, I worked with a guy that worked with him. Well, Rich Skrosky. You know Rich. You guys know Rich. Maybe you don't. He's over at Duke now. And Chach came up and we spent some time together when I was doing the junior college. And I'm saying, what's this guy visiting me for? I should be visiting him. You know, but he's a good football coach.
Yeah.
So, guy, I know where he got it from now.
Good stuff.
Okay, but anyway, I'm going to keep going because this thing is a lot of words here. We began to see that hand placement was at best a conduit for power that we developed in our hips. Okay, and this is really important. This goes back to that co-contraction. Like hand striking was cool and it looked good and all that, but really, you can only lift so much with your arms. You can only have, you can Tunch Ilkin and all that stuff. You can, but if it's a heavy dude that has to be moved, if it's a heavy wheelbarrow, a heavy refrigerator, that hand striking, it just looks pretty. It's not the conduit, the attachment from the man that you're blocking to your hips was coming through those arms. Okay. Or if you use your shoulder, of course, or your head coming through that. But we already established why we wanted to make contact with the hands. And like I said, against a heavy load, a big fat guy that was coming at us, we weren't going to move him that much. Maybe if he was off balance or he exposed his chest or we really got him with a good uppercut, we jack him up a little bit. But it was really about, can we lock that stuff up? Okay, lock it up, lock the shoulder, lock the elbow, and transfer force from the hips through the body, the conduit, and then from the hips to the ground. That's why we kept the knees bent. Okay. And at Penn State, we gave it a name. We called it playing long. So you're going to see early stuff where we're doing a lot of this. Okay. We're doing a lot of shoulder rotation. And at Penn State, we kind of gave up on that. We just said, look, play long. Just keep your hands right there. Lock them up. Lock that shoulder up. You can always push. You can always flip. You can do a million things. But if your dukes are up and you make contact, lock that shoulder up, lock those elbows up, and let your legs and hips do the work. And that was playing long. And when you see the Penn State stuff, you're going to see it. We basically eliminated what I have here, the pendulum punch idea. Okay. And it was a quick draw. Hell, it was as soon as you come out of your stance, you were like this. And you'll see my guys from Penn State doing that. Okay. I had 6'7" guys, and to getting them locked out because their hands were a little late, that was ridiculous. I mean, these guys are 6'7". Nobody should lock them out. And except for like Wisconsin when what's his name was there, the head coach at Baylor. That was a 4-down team, so these guys were always banging heads with defensive ends, and they couldn't get locked out. You get locked out by one of those Ohio State guys, you're done. You can't move them, So we tried to do that. Now going back to straight arms, when your arms are straight, again, it's like you're a knight on a horse with the big lance. You can't apply torque with a straight arm. I mean, you can, you can club or slap, but you can't apply much force. You just can't do it. Okay. If you're doing it to a DB or a guy that's running and you're adding like judo or karate, you're just going to add force to the force he's already generated. Like when we escape on screens, we club the guy in the back and he goes flying on his face and he knows right away it's a screen, just like everybody else knows. I've been fighting to try and get to this quarterback all day, and all of a sudden I'm bare, and I look and everybody else is bare. Screen. Well, we figured, okay, you're going to know. You get past me, I'm going to club you. Okay, and that's the only time we really use the club. And if you look at my guys, they're clubbing probably with a bent arm anyway. Okay, because it's a little stronger, it takes a little pressure off your shoulder. Okay, but straight arms, you can't generate the torque that you can with a hook. You can't do it. Okay. We could transfer momentum, if we were running, we could, and when we're hitting a guy from the side, when we're what we call hammering the guy, we're doing it with straight arms. Okay, because we don't want to get in there, we don't want to get mired in, and we don't want to hit our partner. So if we got a guy tied up, we're trying to go straight arms, but we've already got an angle on him because if I'm the tackle and I'm double teaming somebody, I don't want to hit him with my shoulder. I'm letting the guard do that stuff. I'm going to hit him with my hands. And if I'm just shoving him, if I'm just hammering him like on a zone, if I'm trying to knock him over a yellow light and I'm trying to define him, I don't want to go in there with my head. I want to be as long as possible. Okay. And that's why we did it. We call that the hammer. And really, I got that from Jim, but he used to call it a one-hand read and a two-hand read. I said, well, no, this is a nail and this is a hammer. Because if you think about it, if you put both hands in at once, you're probably going to turn. And then we learned how to turn the turret, not the tank. So the tank was the body, the legs. We would just turn the shoulders. And even we still have one hand a little bit longer than the other. But really, when you're hitting a guy from the side, you probably get hitting him in the ribs and in the hip, and you just don't want to knock your partner off, and all you want to do is nudge him. We did that by accident. We were playing Virginia Tech, and my tackle kept doing that, and I wasn't coaching. I didn't know. The guy was 6'9", and he would just come in there and shove that dude and knock him. So all of a sudden we started coaching it. So let's do it. Okay. That became the hammer. Okay.
Hey, Coach, got a question from Ethan Stump. He said, I heard McNally and Coach Strollo say mired. Is that just a term for getting stuck in the block?
Well, think about this. If you're mired, it's probably because you can't get your head off. Okay. If you get your head or shoulders into a guy and you don't have your hands on him, you're leaning on him. You can't get your head off. So if you're in charge of, and this, I'm sure Jim would have a better explanation than me. What we said was, look, when you're assigned to a linebacker, you got to kind of play like a linebacker. And if you are going to give some guy some help, or you're going to keep a guy from attacking you, you can't let your head or shoulder get mired in. Now, shoulder flipper, okay. But if you turn your body and he grabs you, or you put your head in, you can't even see the linebacker. You're done. So mired in meant you can't. To me, it means you can't escape. You can't escape. If you're giving somebody help, or you're waiting for somebody to overtake a guy and your head's in, you can't even see the linebacker. You can't do it. So there's where if I'm helping somebody, that's where I'm using the hands and the hammer. And if I'm trying to escape a guy, if he's real loose on me, I'm going to use what we call the Heisman. So if I'm going that way and he's kind of playing me on what we call my blind side, I'm looking at the linebacker. I'm on the C side. He's on the blind side. If I let him grab me because I'm playing too short, now sometimes he's yellow light. He's right on me, and I'm better off with the shoulder flipper, or we went to the shoulder roll. We said, you ain't grabbing me, man. I'm going to lower my shoulder, and I'm going to come back and crack you a good one. So that's how we escape. But as soon as you rotate to him, you're mired in. You can't escape. You have to run backwards. And rotation meant this. Okay. I got to show this to you, just because this is how we differentiate gallop. I lifted, so I'm sore as a son of a bitch. Excuse my French. Okay, I don't know if you can see my feet. So I have a guy hanging on me, yellow light, and I'm trying to escape him, right? I got my black socks on. Got my New Hampshire biker shirt on too. If I rotate to where this foot comes up, I'm mired in. I can't escape. I can't go that way. So I want to stay in the gallop, either with we called it, and I really got this from Chuck Priori he's the head coach at Stony Brook. He used to have the guys do it like a French waiter, holding a tray. But I said, okay, we're going to go thumb down, elbow out, keep that guy from grabbing. As soon as I rotate, he's going to grab he might grab my pad anyway. I'm going to beat the hell out of him with this thing. And if he's loose enough, I'm just going to hold him off, but I'm going to be able to escape. And, like I said, if you put your head in, he's going to grab you. He's going to pull your helmet off. If you turn your feet, you have to run back. You have to run backwards to get to that. So the gallop meant, when we first talked about the gallop, you know what we called it? Ball and chain. We said, okay, I'm going to drag this leg. I'm going to put all my weight on this leg. I might have to be propped sideways, depends on where he is. Okay, but I'm going to keep this leg from going forward, because as soon as it does, he's going to grab me and I'm going to rotate. Okay. Now you see in the NFL, guys rotate nicely. I don't know. They get locked out, but they still have to run backwards initially to get to the linebacker. I said, what are we doing that for? If everything stays sweet, okay, you'll get to them. But if anything here's the biggest problem with rotating, more than anything else, they got a game on. you might squirt through and get to the linebacker. If that freaking down lineman that you no longer can see because you just gave up your C side, you gave up your eyes, he's going to pick you, and the linebacker's running bare. It's just the way it is. So when we stayed in this gallop, we could see the linebacker. And if the linebacker ran, he would take us right to the down lineman. After a while, we got smart. We said, let's just look at the down lineman. You know, you got a 4-down look with a nose. You know, chances are they'll give you a little bit of hint. You know, maybe the nose is a little tighter or something like that. But those really good ones, you know, they're on you like this. And if that guy's in the backfield, guess what? He makes tackles, and it's your gap. So we had to stay open to the gap. That's where the gallop or the ball and chain. I thought about my wife. I said, I have a name of a block that reminds me of you. She thought that was cute until I told her.
Coach, she's going to rewatch this.
Remember,
and she said that you didn't let me talk last time. Nobody wants to listen to me, Coach. So you talked the whole time. I'm just going to mute my mic.
Well, you go ahead and interrupt me. I'm just rolling here. You know,
you're doing great.
I think it's she told me that I talk too much. She said, you don't let anybody else talk. I said, yeah, that's just the way I am, you know, from New Jersey, you know.
Love it.
But anyway, so the whole thing was very martial arty. Okay, you know, her, you know, all that stuff, knees bent, big tree, the whole bit. The big tree looks like you're doing karate, you know. And so I don't know what I don't know anything about martial art, but I started for some reason, you know, I started looking into Tai Chi and what Tai Chi to me was, and I realized that what we were actually doing was we were locking out the small muscles, the small joints, and not allowing those small joints to bleed force away from our big hips. Okay, that's when they give you that 6-inch punch, they're moving that thing this far, but there's nothing, they're not giving anything. They're just going ping, and that body's rocked up. It's rocked. Okay. So we said, okay, we're not going to let that happen. We're not going to let force bleed. We're not going to flail. We're going to be nice and tight. Whatever we do, if we have to lock the elbow, we lock it. If we have to bend the elbow, we bend it. If we have to pronate or supinate, whatever we have to do to make contact. And it dawned on me after a while that by doing that, by co-contracting, we were definitely generating all of our force as a conduit to the opponent. Now, it was kind of like I got this note here. It was science, but it wasn't rocket science. I don't think anything I said here is very hard. You know, don't flail. You know, make sure you're rocked up, stay nice and tight, and you know, make sure you hit the guy with your hands. You know, if that's
Coach McNally told me to remind you not to use big words. That was one of the main things he got me to write down. Well,
co-contraction is the biggest word I said. So, yeah, I think I did it. And condensed, I used condensed because I got tired of saying drag your tail. Condense, you know, condense in your stance, condense so that you can change speed and direction. Don't stand up. Don't play high. Long was the thing that I think people most misunderstood. They thought I meant that. I didn't. I just meant don't wind up. Don't expose anything, and don't be late. And this was really late. This was like you're never going to make contact. Yeah. This was pretty good, and that was 6-inch punch.
Yeah.
And if Buck Nystrom, he talked about 6-inch punch years ago. You know, he was a pendulum guy, but he talked about 6-inch punch. So I don't know. I thought it made sense. So anyway, after a while, we talked about locking the whole body up, even the hip joint. And we called that the rock. And what that was if I was trying to escape, okay, and I wanted to hang around a little bit and hesitate. We used to do all these like half scoots and all this baloney. After a while, I'm like, wait a minute, why don't we just get our weight, weight distributions, everything, get our weight to the near foot. If I have a guy on my right shoulder, okay, and I'm trying to escape to the left, and I just run out of there, he either runs right behind me and the tackle can't get him, or he knocks me over because I've rotated or my feet are, or not, I don't have any base. We said, well, why don't we just step, rock up, come back and rewind a little bit with a shoulder roll, okay? Lock that hip up, go so far and no further, and if he hits us, he's going to bounce off of us. We're going to make him splash and maybe even miss because we're protecting ourselves. So that last part, the last thing, the rock was locking that hip up for a moment, just a moment, okay? And once the rock was mastered, we became basically stable against anything, and we were in control. We were doing the accelerating, we were doing the defining. We were not being defined. Mm-hmm. I got video of that stuff too. If you want to see, it's on my thing. I have these little one cut things, and it's all the Louisburg stuff. I did some against early on at Ball State. We did against Texas A&M, worked good, but I wasn't smart enough to understand that when you rock, if you unwind too far the other way. So in other words, if I'm going, I was trying to time contact, and this is a big deal. Yeah, you guys, you go to swimming pool, right? And I'm kind of a jerk, I want to push people in the pool, right? And you're fooling around, pushing the girls in the pool, you push your wife in the pool. You push her, she grabs you because you're standing up, and she pulls you in very easily. So after a while, we said, okay, well, when we hammer, we're gonna use gravity. We're gonna make ourselves down so that we're not as easily accelerated by the opponent, and we're only gonna go this far and no further. So I didn't understand when we started the shoulder roll that I said, okay, we have to make contact. No, we don't. We have to make sure that our weight is on the near foot, and we're low enough so that if this guy comes on his time, he bounces off of us. Okay. But if we go too far, if we rewind too far, we fall in the pool.
Yeah.
Okay. We're out of control again. We have to get our weight on that foot, the near foot to him, but we can't get it over, and we can't take another step. Mm-hmm. We have to stop somewhere. If we make contact, he's going to get blasted because it's like him hitting a rock. Think about a rock on the ground, a 300-pound rock. It's not up here. It's not like a refrigerator. There's no built-in lever. The only way you can use it as a lever is if you roll it. If you're gonna move a big ass rock, you can't pick it. It's 300 pounds, 400 pounds. You can't pick it up. It's too big. You roll it. Okay. So if you're rocked up enough and your shoulders down where he doesn't have a handle to roll you, he ain't moving you. It's not happening. And he bounces off you, and he loses his integrity. Here comes the tackle. I'm always talking guard tackle, but it could be anybody. Here comes the tackle blasting him because the tackle we would skip to it and run off the ball. And we got great movement out of that. Yep. It was just a great and movement at an angle, by the way, but we're not talking about that today. Yeah. But anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about. The last podcast, I screwed that up so bad. I was embarrassed. I couldn't sleep. So anyway, I don't know if you want to go to the video, whatever you want to do.
Yeah. Hey, John, you talked about, on your rock, and you want to stay within your body frame, right? You don't want to go outside it, like you were saying, correct?
That's exactly right. Your base. You're just playing in the big tree. Here's the truth of it, Coach. Whenever you have a force coming at you, somehow you got to get your feet behind you.
Yes.
Okay. And you're making the four-legged animal. But when you got force coming at you from your side, you've already got a braced foot. You just put weight on that near foot with the shoulder down. And then if you get a chance, you give him, it's not even a hit. You're not even trying to hit the guy. You're trying to rock and make him bounce off of you. You're trying to make him splash and dissipate his force so that once he dissipates his force, the tackle kills him.
Yep. It's kind of like that old term, a principle in football, same foot, same shoulder, right? I mean,
it's exactly right.
Its place, right? Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly right. And the key is not to let that weight go past that foot, because then you fall in the pool.
Right.
I mean, you're hitting a guy. We used to take at Ball State when I first got there. I had these 2 300 and God knows how heavy they were guards, and we would rewind and chip noses. They weren't making a lot of violent moves. They were just going like this, and they'd get that foot down, and those guys would hit them and bounce off, and they had that little 6-inch thing. And I really didn't know what it was. I just knew that's what we do. Finally, I figured out what it was. I gave it a definition and how.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, John. I love it. I use it all the time. Your terms red, yellow, green. That's kind of when you're not yellow. You're not going green yet. You're still not yellow. Pace, correct?
You would use the shoulder. To me, you'd use the shoulder roll chip for yellow.
Yeah, yellow. Correct. Yes, right.
Staple yellow. Okay. If the man, just think of it this way: I got a 2-gap player on me. I don't want to hear he's a 3, he's a 1. Coach, he's yellow. Okay, well, that means he's got a threat to both gaps. Okay, great. I got a green light in my gap. I go get it. I got a red light. I wait. I wait. I hesitate because there's no one for me to hit. Somebody might come to me, but I can give help. Yellow light was the hard one. Mm-hmm. I know I got to get going in that direction. If I go too fast, I leave this guy hanging. If I go too slow or stay too square, I get mired in. I can't escape. What do? Well, we said, I can turn. It used to be square. Now it's like I can turn because I can get back square if I have to. If it goes red light, I'm square. Sure. I'm good. Everything's good. Okay. But I turn a little bit and I give him the shoulder point and blast him. And it's nothing new, Coach. It's just this is how it works. And if you're not condensed, it doesn't work. The 3 things are if you get hit in the chest, it doesn't work. If you're not condensed, it doesn't work. If your feet slip, it doesn't work. I don't care what technique you want to talk about. I don't give a crap who it is. Buck Nystrom, Bill Callahan, you name them. Jeff Stoutland. If your feet are slipping, you're standing up, or you get hit in the chest, nothing you do is going to work.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
So those were the fundamentals, those 3 things. So anything we did, we couldn't get hit in the chest. We had to protect ourselves with a shoulder or hands. We couldn't have our tail not dragging. Okay. We would at times have long arms, but most of the time we want, if we were tied up with a guy, or if we didn't know where we were going, we wanted to make sure that we were condensed, upper body, lower body, and we needed to have that tail down. We needed to have can't slip. I say to the kid, he comes off the field, it's muddy, I slipped. No, not slip. You stomp those feet. You smash those feet in the ground and make sure that you're condensed enough so that you don't slip.
Yeah.
Because as you play with long legs, you're going to slip more. Just the way it is.
Yeah. One thing I learned is you make sure you explain what condensed means, because you coach your veterans. You use those terms. We got a new guy, and after about a couple of practices, and it's a shame on me, he goes, "Coach, what do you mean condensed?" And I had to explain it to him. So I learned that this spring. We had a new guy join us, and had a veteran group. And I'm using the term condensed because I want you condensed. I'm showing him, and after one practice, he goes, "Coach, can you explain what do you mean by condensed?" So I learned that. Yes.
You know what I did? I gave him all shirts with alligators on it when I was dragging. So use dragging the tail. Make sure your tail's dragging. Make sure your tail's wagging. Think about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I love how and I love how you talk about being rooted. All your cleats in the ground. Not this at the point of attack. That's not much of a foundation. Your foundation is here, correct?
I think so.
Yes. All your cleats in the ground. Yes.
I watch guys. If you want to run a 100-yard dash, you better have your heels off the ground. Your foot strike is your toes, and you're literally propelling yourself. You're throwing yourself forward. But if you want to move something, if you're a Corvette, good, you can run on those little patches. If you're a bulldozer, you better have those tracks in the ground. It's just, it's just physics. It's just physics. Torque is different from horsepower. Okay, and momentum is different from acceleration. Okay?
Yes,
momentum is how heavy you are and how fast you're going. Will determine how much force you're generating. Okay. When you're going to trap somebody, you're trying to stay condensed, but you're smoking, and if you're not condensed and he wrong arms you, you won't be able to log him.
Yep.
So if you go trapping a guy and you're standing straight up, you're in trouble. But if you go trap a guy and you're trying to, you'll never get there.
Yeah.
So, but the trap is an angle. It's an angle block.
Yep.
Like when we release on a screen, okay, we club out, we get to where we have our spot. It's usually 3 steps. We get there 3 steps, and we square up, and we're back into being boxers. We're looking for targets because the target isn't always there. But if I know a guy's coming across and I have to absolutely be as fast as possible, I burst, I run. Got it, because you won't get there.
Yeah.
So, it's just like you're going into a boxing match. You only got one punch, or you can only have one pitch in a baseball game, or you only have one pitch. You can't throw any others. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Somebody's going to murder you.
Yeah. John, talk about the hands again when you're approaching the guy, the level 2 guy, the linebacker. What you talked about. The V of the hands. Explain that one more time.
Well, to me, it depends on how the linebacker's playing. If he's hunkered down, the only way you'll get him in the chest is with hooks. If he's running, you can push him.
Yeah,
because by pushing him, you're extending yourself. Your arms will travel faster than your body will.
Yes, sir.
That's the way it is. So if he's opposing you, he's playing like a down guy. You would get your hands in front. You're not going to let him split your hands and put his shoulder pad under your chin. He's going to kill you.
Right.
You're not going to let him headbutt you.
Right.
Chances are he's going to be playing you like this and trying to escape. Depends on where the point of attack is.
Sure.
If it's right behind you, he's got to step up and get him with the hooks.
Yep.
If he's running, get him with the hand.
Yeah.
Down lineman's pass rushing you. He's got his chest straight up. Hit him with the long arms.
Yeah.
You get him with the hooks. You're short. He's locking you out. He's giving you the one arm. That's where we got into the mixed hands. So we had a long hand because he had a long hand, one arm longer than the other. And if you put the other arm in, now you've got 2 short arms.
Yeah. We
kept the other arm ready for, if he came at us, boom, we grab him.
Right.
That's all. Now we just took that and we took it to scooting 3 technique, or anybody that was not in front of us, we'd add that. We called it mixed hands. So we'd go, instead of that, we'd go like that. Just
right. Yeah.
This was a feeler, and this is where you're going to do the work. And then once you engage, grab the other one.
Yes.
Right. If you run a C-gap zone, if you manage to scoot and get in front of that guy, he's going to run.
Yeah.
And you're gonna probably pancake him if you can get into his armpit with your hand.
Yeah.
If he lags on you, okay, you gotta rock up and start giving him some run, and the center might come over and knock you off and get to the linebacker.
Sure.
And it just depends on what he does. But by alignment, you want to put. We started thinking that you wanted to play with mixed hands, a long arm and a short arm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Green light. Now, if I don't give a crap, like let's say we're running in here and I got leverage on him, I don't need that. We did it, but you don't like if I got a green light, that's my gap.
Yeah.
I don't need mixed hands. I can just go in there and bull.
Just go. Exactly. Yep.
So because you want him to go that way, you don't want him crossing your face. But if you're trying to run, if your back has got to cross his color, and your job, everybody says, well, we're going to run those guys to the sideline. Well, that's okay until they lag. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I get it. Hang on a second. This guy is my. I got to answer this 1 second.
Do what you got to do. No, dude, absolutely. No, this is great.
Hey, let me call you back. Can I call you back? You there? Can I call you back? All right. I'm sorry. I heard this stuff and I figured you would know. Okay, I will. All right, bye.
John, you talked about the little steps. I talk sometimes about I want your heel to replace your toe sometimes. If that makes sense. Does that sound good? I mean,
I coach, when we're precise, we say 6-inch steps or 2-foot steps, or when I say little steps, what I mean is I don't want to see your feet in the air.
Exactly. Yeah.
How's the guy playing? If he's playing soft, maybe the steps are bigger because you got to get there further.
Yeah.
If he's grunting up and if you get caught with your front foot in the air, you ain't going to move anybody.
You're done. You're correct. Yeah.
It's like a lead step, lead step guys. If you can get your weight, if you take a lead step and you can get your weight in front of your front foot, in other words, I step with my right foot lead and I can get my weight in front of it, it's probably going to work. I won't be able to pick the guy up if he spikes or loops.
Right. You're right.
That's why we stopped doing that. But if I get hit with my front foot in the air, I ain't moving nobody. And if I get hit with my front foot in the air, I certainly can't take a step. I can't move my back foot. I'll go right backwards. I'm stuck. So we stopped doing that. We said we're going to brace so we can move the second step.
Yeah. And I love stomping the ground. I love that.
If you have a guy that's in a short stance and he's off the ball and all that other stuff, and he really doesn't, some of these guys used to run those read defenses. Well, you can go get them. You don't have to be, you can go get them. But I wouldn't take real big steps because when they spike and loop, you get picked.
Yep.
You can't accelerate. If I was going to give it a word, I'd say acceleration steps.
I like that.
You're in first gear. You come out of the blocks and sprint. You're not taking a great big step when you're taking a little steps going right underneath you. If you're a track sprinter, you're not taking a long stride. You're gaining momentum. Same thing. You got your motorcycle. You're in first gear. I have a motorcycle with a reverse shift pattern. I didn't know it. I put it in fourth gear and I tried to take off. And I'm like, what the hell's the matter with this thing? And I realized it was a reverse shift pattern. So you put it in first gear to get the mass of the bike accelerating. Then once it accelerates and you build up some momentum, you click up a gear, click up another gear. You just keep clicking gears until you get scared and put the brakes on. I got a 1986 Harley Davidson Sportster that somebody punched out to 80 cubic inches. I shouldn't really ride it because I'm too old.
Ethan Stump's got a question, Coach. He said coach's analogies are coaching gold, but he said, what is your guys' thoughts on this coaching cue? Snap the W. If your hands are down in front of you and together, they make a W. Once you strike and supinate the hands, you snap the W.
Okay, I used to use W for something, but I don't know what he's talking about. All we knew is this. If the hands came apart, okay, we had a problem. And if we were trying to get under somebody with our thumbs in, it was hard to do. We knew that by supinating. Okay. If you look at this, it looks like a W.
Yeah.
Okay, it does. You know, you could say you could argue and say it's a W. That's
So
fine.
Ethan, if you want to
As long, just tell him as long as he never calls me up and says, "Hey, I'm snapping the W," and he expects me to understand what he's talking about. But basically, that thing right there, you should be able to hit a guy in the chest who's hunched over, you know, or the medicine ball, you know, if you want to lift it up.
Coach, do you want me to show the film of Elon? You go through that?
Yeah, let's do that because that's enough. And they guys really wanted to do the medicine ball stuff. Coach, unless you have anything, Steve, if you have anything.
No, this is great. No, this is awesome. I love it. No, I appreciate you doing what you're doing. I watched so many of your videos, John. I love it. I just love it, Coach. I really do. Thank you.
Well, I'm flattered.
Great.
I'm flattered. I wish I had as much success as you do. You know,
but, Coach, you've had a great career.
Right now,
hey, Coach, I'm telling you, man, those years you're at Ball State, man, you guys led the country in least amount of TFLs and all. I'm telling you, and I took that to heart. And for
I had some good guys I played, I coached with, and some good people that we played.
Yeah. No, you did a great job with those guys, and I took that to heart, and I took it a challenge. And 2 years ago on the D2 level, we were number one in the country for least amount of TFLs, and last year we were number two. So I remember that talk you had, and so I took it to heart. And I said, man, we're going to follow this to a T. So I appreciate your willingness to share and your knowledge because I loved it, and I've taken it to heart. And we've really taken a lot of pride here in Pensacola of giving the least amount of TFLs in the last couple of years. So it's pretty cool. It really is. Thank you.
Well, I'm just glad somebody listens. My wife doesn't listen to me, so somebody nice to have somebody listen to me. I might as well tell you this. 2007, I got fired. We all got fired at Duke, and I went to Elon. I was lucky enough to go to Elon and be the tight end coach. And we had screwed around with the medicine balls at Duke, but never on the field. And I gave the video to a bunch of people. One of the people I gave it to was a guy named Damian Wroblewski, who had played for me at Lafayette. Was a great player, and he was trained, you know, in the V. He knew what that was, and he started using them, training the kids on the field. I used it for off season. He was doing it right on the field. So I scratched my head and said, you know what? I'm going to start doing that. If I get another job, I'm going to bring him out on the field. So we did.
I love it.
The other thing is the meatball story. You know, we take tennis balls.
Right.
With them. So I was sitting right over there in the kitchen, this very house, and my wife was making meatballs. She was literally making meatballs. She's a Polish girl, but my mother taught her how to do it. And I was looking, I'm saying, well, you know, I understand all this stuff, but it seems like they still want to do this. And I don't want to use handcuffs because that's passive learning. You know, as soon as you take the handcuffs off, they're right back to this. So I'm watching her roll meatballs like this. And I'm like, I said, give me some of that stuff. So I rolled a meatball. And I'm like, this is exactly what I'm looking for. This is going to keep the hands together. And it's going to uncouple from the feet. So it's like a boxer. I'm doing that. I have a little articulation. So I'm somewhat coordinated. Okay. So there was a little foam rubber apple. Okay. And I grabbed that, and that was the original meatball. And I started walking around the house doing all this stuff. And I realized if I can teach my feet to move with my hands uncoupled, if I don't need this to move my feet, I'm always going to be ready to hit somebody. So as we started with the stomping ants drill, what we're doing here is, you know, everybody wants to know about the footwork, but it was really about any footwork, but keeping your hands like this.
Yeah.
You know, keeping your hands tight. Jim McNally came up with the tight word. I thought that was nice. You know, keep your hands tight hands. Yeah. So that's what, you know, I stole that from him. But
Did you get your interlock thumb sometimes?
Yeah, I think that was the W, but here the interlock is for pushing.
Right. Correct. Okay. Yeah.
That was for pushing. So when we push, if you watch when we get to some of the other drills, you'll see them like that. Yeah. And then later on, what we did was I said to them, look, I'm tired of chasing these damn tennis balls all over the place. You guys make believe. You just do this. You grab a thumb or something, and that's what you do. So, and then when I was at the junior college, they'd steal tennis balls and throw them all over the place. Nobody wanted to pick them up. I was like, nah, we ain't doing it. But anyway, go ahead and play the video.
Ethan had a question about. I had to go to the bathroom, y'all, and I made a pot of coffee. In a 2-point stance, where do you guys have the players put their hands pre-snap?
Well, it's interesting because you have guys put their hands on their thighs, and to me, you just added another. You're like this, and you're nice and locked up. Like the Delaware guys with their running backs used to be like this. Tailbacks are like this, but I kind of like that.
Yeah.
All right. I wanted to be, and this is what I coached. This is where I wanted him because
Coach McNally, he's moving his hands out now. Have you heard him say that?
What do you mean?
Coach McNally said he's put the hands out. That way they ain't got to move as far. Get your hands on the guy.
Get him on quick.
That's the point. If you look at my Penn State, that's playing long. That's playing long.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean in your stance? Oh, I wouldn't do it in my stance.
Yeah, he said in the stance. He said he wanted to know, was it a penalty? Could the offense?
I don't think it's a penalty. Like those guys used to be in the 3-point stance and they put their hand up like that. You can do that.
Yeah.
I just don't know if you have enough balance. I want to have some pressure on my thighs with my forearms. Okay. I think that I'm gonna twitch a lot, and I wouldn't. I mean, who knows? Some people I'm sure do it, but I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
I want to be locked. I want to be rocked up in my stance. I don't want to
condensed.
Twitch.
You want to be condensed.
Yeah, absolutely condensed. I want
absolutely. That's what absolutely. Coach McNally uses that. I say exactly. He goes absolutely.
Actually, he adds a little something to that.
Oh, he does. Yeah.
Absolutely. If you could imagine what he adds.
Coach, stomp ants. You want to go through this?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
Okay, again, we're and freeze this for a second. Freeze this if you could for a second. You see those squares? Those squares are really a good thing to have. They're 2-yard squares. Okay, and I'll show you why later. But all we're doing here, they all have tennis balls, and they're sort of in the big tree. Later on, you'll see we're more condensed. Okay, like when we go to Ball State, we're more condensed. In other words, from 2008 to 2014, we started to be a little more condensed. But go ahead. All we're doing, we're working on stomping our feet on the ground. Okay, stomping our feet and keeping our hands together. That's all it is. Just let it run. Okay, the wave. Now we're going to add some direction to it. But remember, all we're trying to do is keep those hands together. So I was just making stuff up. I didn't know. I figured that'll do it. Okay. Shadow boxing. I can't even remember what this is. Oh, I know what this is. Go ahead. Okay. So we're making believe. I would not do this. Do not do this. This is not a good drill. I would get rid of it. No, I'm serious, because here's the problem. At this point, freeze that for a second. I'll tell you why. At this point in time, we didn't have the scoot. Okay. The scoot came next year. What you're doing there is your feet are not behind you and you're practicing hitting something. Okay. So I wouldn't do it unless you're practicing hitting a linebacker, then it'd be okay. All right. But you can see they're half jocking it around. They're not, I don't want to curse. Okay. This I would definitely do. This is just arc blocking. Okay. And the trick there is just freeze it for a second. Go back to that if you could. Okay. What we're trying to do is step deep so that we don't put our chin over our toe. We want our chin between our feet. So if we're hit, we don't get knocked backwards. So you understand what I'm saying? Just see if you can run it. See where those feet are right there. See how they wind up with 1 foot deeper than the other? Okay. Okay, and this is, I don't know what the hell we're doing here. Okay, I wouldn't do that either. I wouldn't do that. Okay, this is eventually turned into the jitterbug. Okay, and if you freeze that for a second, Coach, what we're doing here is we're trying to just accelerate a little bit here and there, and we have I don't know if I have the jitterbug on video, but I think I do. But all it was just accelerate, just keep changing direction, going back and forth, not so much forward and back, but back and forth, and seeing if you can keep those hands tight. Okay. And again, we're stomping our feet, Everything we're doing here, we're stomping. Okay. Now we're pass blocking a little bit. Okay. Now we're there's your post foot thing that I don't do anymore. Okay, and remember they all have a tennis ball. Okay. Okay. Now this is all we're doing. If you freeze that for a second, all we're doing here is we've co-contracted the elbow, and we're working that pendulum punch, and this was. I would still do this because the key to this is rocking up that body, rocking up that hip joint, rocking up that knee joint, rocking and being stable and hitting something without falling all over the place. Now, the big trick here was this, the guy holding that ball.
Yeah.
He couldn't get blasted in the face. He had to wrap his arms over the top of it. That's pretty good right there. Okay. This is more like what we did at Penn State with not dropping. Now he's dropping his hands. Well, he's not doing it there, but dropping your hands, we kind of stopped doing that, the real pendulum punch. But you're going to see that was our best guy right there. So he shows you what I know. He was rocking people. You're going to see them without pads on. And when you do this, when you're watching this from behind, you can't see their elbows.
Mm-hmm.
Then you know what they're doing it right. And the easiest way to keep your elbows in is keep your thumbs out or in the V. Okay. That when your thumbs are straight up, your elbows want to go out. When your thumbs are in like that, your elbows want to go out. So that was another part. The supination helped keep our elbows in and gave us a good rotation. Okay. Again, we are rocked up on the bottom of that thing. Okay. Intuitively, I knew that was the way to do it, but I didn't understand co-contraction and all that. This drill is the best drill. I wish I'd done this more. I stopped doing it. So what we're doing is we have to step. You strike and step. So you learn how to gain ground after you've delivered that blow, whatever it is. The guy's going to back up a little bit, and now you got to chase him without losing your integrity. Mm-hmm. Okay? You kept those knees bent. You stayed condensed. You can see this guy, his elbows are going out a little bit, and his hands are too far apart. This guy's pretty good. Okay. And again, if they straighten their knees, they weren't condensed.
Right.
And it took too much power. They couldn't develop anything from their hips. It took too much power to move anybody because all you had was your arms. That was probably the best of this. And this guy's taking little really little steps. Okay. And now we're really trying to freeze. Okay. Totally freeze and really slow it down. It's the same drill. I just probably got pissed and said you're moving your feet too fast. You're not transferring the weight through the ground. So I said slow the damn thing down. You see that guy stumble?
Yeah.
The guy that's doing it right now, the first couple of times he stumbled and he stopped dragging his tail. See this guy drag his tail? Then he hops at the one.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a really good drill. I eventually called this tearing. Okay. But right now, all we're doing is I'm trying to lift one armpit and tearing at an angle. And we started saying, okay, we're tearing. It's like we're dragging a drunk out of a bar. Okay. and see how it's a torque. It's
Yep.
not a straight ahead thing. We're trying to freeze that for a second. When you lift a guy straight up off the ground and try and pick him up, that's a lot of power. But when you tip him over, and Jim calls it tip. When he saw that, he said, "Oh, that's tipping." I said, "No, that's not tipping. That's ragdolls. That's tearing." But you're using you get his weight outside of his foot. The gravity is going to help you move him. It's like a tree. It's like a tree that wants to fall over, and you're just kind of holding it up. Right, the gravity is pulling him to the ground, and you're just. And I envision it as, a bouncer dragging a drunk out of a. You're dragging his feet along the ground, and so go ahead and run it. This is a good drill. Okay, now we're doing the straight one. I don't know if I'd do this one again. The fat kid, the heavy kid. I think he's coaching. I don't know if I'd do that again. Okay. But it did bring your feet. Okay. Mm-hmm. You guys are welcome to do it. All you guys, if you're watching, the 5 guys that are watching this thing, if you want to do it, great. It definitely brings your feet. The only this is good. This is a gallop. Okay. That's keeping the far foot back and the near foot up. Okay. All right. Now freeze this for a second. This is before the scoot. But we never did this, ever did this we didn't do it against shields. We didn't do it against medicine balls. Later on, I did. I like the medicine balls better than shields. But the defender had to be a target, a real target, and he had to give a little pressure. And you had to momentarily create a 4-legged animal. Now, this was really before the scoot, okay, but there was still teeter in this. Go ahead and run it. Okay, and we needed to keep those pads. This is how we blocked. This is actually blocking. Okay, all those other things were just drills. And there's a little tear. That's a windup. Okay, the defender's playing patty cake with him. That's less of a windup, much better. Quick hands. That's a little bit of a windup, but he was such a bull, it didn't matter. That was pretty quick, but see where his hands went? Run that one back. I made him do it. Okay. He spread his hands. He got hit in the chest. Okay. If your opponent grabs your chest, you're dead meat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He's wound up, but his hands are very tight. He got hit in the chest again. That's better. Now, 87 probably said, I don't want to do this again. I won't hit him in the chest.
Yeah.
87, I think, is coaching now.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Coach, when you talk about the tearing, are you going to eventually just going to finish with one arm, or it depends how it happens?
I don't buy that.
Okay, gotcha. I want to hear it. Yeah.
All right, so freeze that for a second. Like, we throw and pass, but if I'm running C-gap zone and I throw or I try to – I see this all the time. Guys, they take one hand off and they get slung.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to grab him. And I want to take the other hand and make sure he doesn't grab me. Okay.
Yeah.
But I want to tear him. You take one hand off and you're going to turn. Okay. And he's just going to put the brakes on, sling you. And guys in the pros do it. I mean, I don't buy it. I want to get 2 hands on that guy, one in his armpit, one in his tit or his breastplate. And I want to tear him. Okay, I'll throw on the run if I'm taking 2 or if I'm really, really have a tremendous amount of leverage. Okay, so like a take 2 draw will throw, but throwing's hard.
Yeah,
it's a hard thing to do, and I want that guy. When that back is running, I don't want him to see any part of that defender. I want that defender covered by me. All I want him to see is my back. And then he'll just pick a spot and go. And plus, if you one hand that thing, you're going to get shed. The guy's going to give you a shove. He's going to shed you. If they'll keep running with you, great. But they don't. Not the good ones. They sling you. Too much wind up, but he got him right in the heart with tight hands. Right, that was a good one. That's what we wound up really going to, coaching that more. That was pretty good. I tell him, don't pitch softballs. Don't pitch softballs. Okay, don't start with don't reach way down in there. And see, that's a windup. He got him nice, but that's a windup. That's much better. Now you could see it, the difference. That's real good. He got it there, but 89's giving him help by spreading his hands. That's no good. That's a windup. That's okay. All right, you can go to the next video if you want. Okay. Now let's do this. Okay, this kid in the blue. You see he's pushing. You know why he's pushing? Because you see his thumbs come together. Run that back if you can, Coach. Watch his thumbs; they're up. So he starts. He can't get on the bottom of the ball. He can't cup the ball with his hands, and he starts pushing because the thumbs were up. If the thumbs are in the V, you don't push. Now that's pretty good. His thumbs are in the V. The only thing is that there he's pushing a little bit, and if you don't bring your feet, of course you lose your integrity. This is a little better. The guy in the blue was a baller. Now he'd block anybody. This is a little bit. Yeah, that's better. He started out pitching softballs. He's a pretty good player too. Okay, then we did this striking step again to see if we can keep integrity.
I like that. Yeah.
Okay, just to see if you're going to stay condensed. Little bit of softball pitching there. You know, he might not get away with that in a live thing. Do it from behind. Look for the elbows. Elbows disappear.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And these two dudes, you know, we played some salty outfits, and these two dudes would block anybody. If the elbows are in, you got a chance. And this is pass protection. You know, we had to pass protect. I hate having tight ends pass protect, but we did it. And again, all it is root your feet and retreat after contact. Root on the contact and then retreat afterwards. So you never got pushed around. And that's pretty much it. You want to go to the Ball State one, the circular force one.
So this one right here.
We'll do this. We'll do this.
This is the only other film I got both. I got the last one, and this one, Coach.
Well, this one, if you have this one teed up, go to that where we said that 30 something or other. This is Penn State. You know, we had about 25. We had about 25 NFL players on this team. You know, that guy's 64. The kid's 77. The right tackle.
Yeah,
he couldn't even get on the field in my room. They moved him to tackle. He wound up leaving his junior year. He went to the Seahawks and started for 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, we had dudes. We played dudes too, but we had some ballers. But if you can go to that point where we get to the drills, Troy.
Keep going, Coach. Fast forward it.
Yeah, you know, this is the 33, whatever it was.
Yeah, this is 34.
Okay, well, let's go back to 33-ish because now we're doing skips. What did I tell you? The 33 point something or other?
Yeah, the point you told me was on that swing screen, Coach, or was that jailbreak?
Okay, well, go to that point because otherwise you're just going to be looking at game film, which is fine. Fast forward? Yeah, I forget where it was.
Right here's the first drills, Coach.
Okay, let's watch the drills. Okay, so we're skipping here, backside cutoff. Okay, and
all right, Coach McNally really wanted you to go over the skip and the scoot.
We'll go back to it. This isn't Scoot. This is Skip. So
Hey.
your backside tight end on this. Okay, again, we got the 2-yard squares. And the reason we had the 2-yard squares is because I said to them, look, I want both your feet on the line, both your feet outside the box, both your feet inside the box. And it would line them up perfectly.
Mm.
Some of this stuff I did because I get yelled at if I didn't, but just the way it was, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
A lot of money being spent. Okay, that video, that Penn State video should be at 33.53 should be that Penn State video. That's where you want to put it.
Yeah, 33.53 was on that jailbreak, Coach. There's 33.53.
Okay. Well, then something's wrong. Should be drills. Maybe you got to unload it and load it again. As Michigan.
So this Penn State, is the drills at the beginning or at the end, Coach?
It's right at 33.53 are the drills I want to talk about.
On the football tight end overview, John Strollo video on YouTube.
I think that's it. Yeah.
So
I would unload it. I would just exit out and then get back on it because it's obviously decided that it's going
Recordings
to go
just got better. Hey, it's Dana from StreamYard.
Oh,
I'm
shit.
so excited to announce that local recording.
So, just unload it and put it to 33.53 from the beginning. So I think it's 33.53 left. See the right number?
Oh, the right number. Okay, Coach.
Well, no. Excuse
I was
me.
looking
I'm
at
wrong.
the first number.
No, the left number. I'm wrong. The left number. No, go back. That's where I had something's wrong here.
Yeah, that's a 0 right there, Coach. So
Okay.
33.53 was like where I was on the swing screen, or I think it was a jailbreak to the left.
I don't know why yours is different than mine. Oh, go right here. Where is that?
That's at the beginning of the tape.
Right. All right. Go right there.
Right there.
So go back to that.
Coach McNally's been giving me a hard time, Coach, about this film.
Well, you wanted to do medicine balls. I thought we were doing medicine balls.
Yeah, Coach, this is good. Is this the drill tape you want to hear? Or no.
It was going to be some medicine balls, but
The medicine balls on the Penn
Right.
State film?
well, this is going to illustrate playing long.
Okay.
Okay. So
I'm going back, Coach. All right, I'm going to go to the first drill.
All right, go to the first drill. All right, that's a big tree. That's that's Elon kid. And that's stomping the ants, and that's the. Yeah, I don't know what would happen here. I don't know what you. Let me see what I got. Well, go. You know what? I know this is the right tape because I looked at it. I just wanted to go to 12:14 on the left. See if that's anything. 12:14. I don't know why yours is playing different than mine. Because that's 12:45. You got
Right here?
Go 12:14 on the left number.
That's 12:14 right there, ain't it, Coach?
Okay. Well, I'm screwing this stuff up. I don't know
That's all right,
going on.
Coach. How about this right
All right.
here?
Let's see what we got. This is just blocking linebackers. Football tight end.
Maybe I'm on the wrong one, Coach.
No, I think you're on the right one. I don't know. I got different stuff. I just that thing you were just looking at, the linebackers stalking linebackers. It's on here now.
What was the other film, Coach? You want me to find that?
Well, that was the one, the Ball State one. That was Circular Force.
Circular Force.
That's it. That was it.
That's good.
You know, we'll forget about the Penn State thing. I think you understand what we were talking about with playing long, right?
Yes, sir.
We didn't want to wind up at all. Okay, so here we're stomping ants, and you can see where we're lower. We're dragging our tail more. And again, it's the same old stuff. So then we said, okay, we're going to use that. We're going to put a hand out to this is skip, cut off. And, okay, again, everybody's got a tennis ball, or their thumbs are locked.
Yeah.
Either or. Because I got tired of the tennis ball, which was ridiculous. But I don't coach anymore, so who cares? Okay, and this is just going through various footwork. Okay, this was a punch, and what we're trying to teach him to do, okay, is pull the shoulder back. See it?
Yeah.
Okay, so if we're punching with the left arm, we're pulling the right arm back. And people, just freeze that for a second. Okay. People will say, well, you're doing it with your hips. I say, no, we're locking up our hips and we're doing it with our core. Okay, we're doing it with our core. And what we realized was that one arm's longer than two, but we could add force from what we call synchronized diagonal antagonists. So we're synchronizing the front of one half of our body and the back of the other, and we're pulling. And if you look at when boxers really throw the haymaker, they pull that other arm back. Not far, okay, but they pull back. Okay, go ahead and run.
That helps with your balance too, right? That you're doing that, correct?
I think so. It centers you. Yeah. So there's little jabs, and this is a heavy shot. You can see that they don't push themselves backwards. Okay, and this is a hook shot. This is a Mike Tyson shot. Okay, this is hammering and keeping the up leg up. Now we do this with a skip. Okay, we always skip, so he should step with the right foot first. Did you see that? Okay, the reason for that, freeze that for a second. I want to talk to you about that. We talked about it last time, but I can get there in 2 steps rather than many. Okay, but if you think about it, I'm going. I'm trying to keep integrity, but I'm going. And again, picture this. I'm in red light and I'm helping somebody. So I'm hammering that ball. Go ahead and run it. So it's always a skip. Now he raised up. I don't like that. And he never got the gravity down, what we call avalanche. Okay.
So Coach, the difference between the skip and the gallop, then what are we saying?
Well, Jim uses gallop and he calls it gallop when you freeze this for a second. Okay. He uses gallop for that, what we were just doing, but he steps with the first. If he's going right, he steps with the right leg first. Right. I think that's too many steps. We can get there by bringing the left leg first, going right, and we'll get there in 2 steps. Okay. The other thing about that too is when you take a lead step, if I'm going right, this is the big thing. Okay. When I'm going right with my right foot, I have to somehow step deep enough in case that guy tries to split us. Okay. But if I'm skipping, if I'm using my opposite foot first, I can adjust with that right foot. Okay. So I move the left foot in, and whatever he did, I can adjust. So if he's just standing there, I can go get him. If he rocks across, I can turn it in, I can grab him. If he tries to split me, I can step deeper with that, even deeper with that right foot. So it was a timer thing. Plus, it got us there in 2 steps.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
So
never
you're saying that second step lands, you can react to it. Yeah.
That was always called cow tip. So you know how
Cow
you're
tip.
tipping a cow? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And this I don't like this that much, but what we're trying to do is concentrate on the hips, okay, and keeping the co-contraction of the upper body. So he's pushing, he's losing it in his elbows, okay, and he's rolling his hips.
Yeah.
Okay. If I was going to do this again, I would add the 2 steps. In other words, every time now he's slapping, he's playing with straight arms. The kid's a bull, really powerful. Okay, but I wouldn't do this again. See, he's slapping too. He's playing with long arms. Okay, I don't like that. Okay, and then he stands up. So the way I do it now, I would, he's pretty good. I'd strike and take 2 steps. 1, 2.
Striking step.
So I'd go right, left, and then I'd strike it again, go left, right, like we did at Elon.
When you do the 2-step, do you punch on the first step? I mean, or do you? Whatever the terminology is, the contact. Coach.
You have freeze this for a second. I'll tell you exactly how to do it. Okay. When you strike, what we're trying to do is strike with both feet on the ground. When you strike with 1 foot in the air, it's like you're riding a bicycle. So that foot better be right directly under you. When you're in the big tree and you strike out of the big tree, you're stable. Okay, so you strike, or in this case, I would just go like that. Okay, boom. I wouldn't do any of this. I would just go boom, and then I'd go 1, 2, boom, 1, 2. Okay, and I was trying to do too much with that drill, but that's the way I was doing it at that time. The idea is to have a stable, triangular, a big tree, okay, a stable base, and I put my force into the man off of both feet and then follow it. Okay. And this is just either it's probably a combination matching and scooting. This is where we started playing with, you see the tight end guy, he's at Duke now. He was doing the same drills that I was doing at Elon, but there's our long arm, short arm. And there's our match, both short arms. So long arm, strong arm. Okay, and this is galloping to a linebacker without just going to a linebacker. They're trying to keep the right leg back. Okay, they're trying to keep the right leg. Now they're trying to keep the left leg back.
Right.
Whichever direction they're going, they're trying to keep that leg. They're dragging that leg behind so that they can chase the linebacker. And he's just waddling. He's done a pretty good job. He did everything good. Okay, that the linebacker didn't move. But here's a better shot of it without the and the whole thing is to maintain a striking integrity, even though you're moving. Like we're chasing linebackers here. Can we stay in a striking integrity, or are we going to be flailing all over the place? Yeah. And then this thing was just to get when you're getting locked out to break a stalemate. And after watching this the other night, I think I like this better than originally. Okay, so what we got is a long arm and a short arm, and then this is throwing a guy. Okay, so you can't torque off of one leg. You can't do it. Okay, so that would be like pass protection or something like that. Okay, we might do it in some runs, depends on where the guy is, and this is just going back to that original drill of striking the pad, striking the ball, but now we're doing it by moving our feet. So if we don't have our feet in the ground when we hit, and this is wrenching, okay, if you want to know that, this is a pretty good technique, wrenching. Okay, what you're doing here is you're trying to get back in front of him by pulling yourself in front of him. Okay, this is scooting with the ball. I don't know. I prefer to do it without the ball, but we were doing it with the ball that day. And this is shoulder roll and chip. Okay, we're just combining it just to get more reps. Okay, rolling the shoulder and chip. Okay, again, trying to stay condensed. And that was just a little 5-minute thing I put together. I figured people would get something out of it.
Yeah, we got a couple questions.
Go ahead.
Ethan Stump's got a couple questions. He said, hopefully not jumping the gun. Can you dive into the backside skip footwork? When the player performed the skip, did they ever get blown up when dropping, crossing that leg?
No, because we didn't cross the leg. Okay, we didn't do like a karaoke type thing. It was almost like a heel click. And the key to getting blown up or not getting blown up is to not uncondense. So you think about it when you're skipping. Let me see if I can give you a better look at this thing. Okay, you tell me if you can see my feet. Okay, so when you're skipping, now we found out that we could stay square the whole time. I don't know if I would do that now, but when you're skipping, when I'm going this way, okay, I don't want to go like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I want to be like I'm pulling, like I'm skipping to pull to wrap on a power play. Okay, so I would just do this, and then I can step as deep as I want to with this foot, and it will allow me to encircle. But if I'm standing up, yeah, I'm going to get blown up. So I want to keep. We used to just say, stay condensed. Now I would say roll the shoulder down. Okay, why not? I mean, I'm encircling this guy anyway.
I mean, that makes sense to me because you're actually getting wider on the second step. It's kind of like a quarterback on a punch step. You're actually taking like a.
You don't want to hit this guy until you've got leverage on him. Okay, so if I go at the guy, I'll never cut him off. Even if I take an angle, as soon as I do this and he takes off, I'm chasing him. But when I encircle him, we call it Apache. When I Apache him, okay, I do this and I gain the step already, and I can get deep as I want with this foot, and then just add this thing. When we arc, like we argue about this all the time, me and Jim, or we used to. Okay, I would say to the center, look, you step deep, but if he gets you here, he's going to open you up like a can opener. You roll that shoulder down, okay, get it down, and don't let him hit you anywhere. In other words, you're being a rock. And then we would say, don't do this. Don't cross over. Step deep and drag that foot again so that you've always got that foot bracing you for the knock. And just keep that thing down. Don't give him a target and just encircle him. Okay? Just encircle him. So it was sort of like step deep, drag, step deep, circle. And it worked fine. We did it against that guy Damian Wroblewski, who's the line coach at James Madison. When he was my center at Lafayette, he hooked 3 techniques doing that because he didn't go at him, he encircled him. Now it might be a big fat 3 technique from like Georgetown or somebody like that, but I don't care for that. It's a freaking 3 technique. And we had a guy. I said it was him doing it, but we had a defensive end that played in the NFL. He played a long time in the NFL, and he was lined up as like a tilt guy in a 9 technique, and we were trying to run toss sweep, and we hooked him all day by arcing. We didn't go at him; he'd murder us. Okay, somebody was talking about Chris Sweet was over here the other day, and he's talking about the Jimmy Reed, the tilt alignment. We ain't going at that guy. We're going to encircle him. We're not going to let him hit us. And his feet are so close to the line of scrimmage. He takes 1 step, he's across the line of scrimmage. So you go at him, he's going to go across, he's going to split, he's going to raise havoc. Either skip or arc and lower that shoulder and encircle him, and you'll get outside minute. What's he going to do? Run backwards?
Yeah.
Right?
Matt Stewart.
People are following me.
Matt Stewart's got a question, Coach. He says, the avalanche you mentioned on the hammer, where you are pushing downwards and aided by gravity. When are you pushing downwards? Doesn't that work against you because the other guy would be condensed?
We're not pushing down. We're pushing out. But when you push up here, you are pushing down, and if you push up here, you're long. So when we pushed, we wanted to go down into the ground with our hips and stretch. You ever see a first baseman on a stretch?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he doesn't go like this. He's like freaking like that. Well, we're trying to play like a first baseman. We're trying to, again, extra low and let gravity off of this foot. Let gravity. It's like a tree or an avalanche. Gravity is adding to the force that we're generating, and if we do it right, we catch it on this leg and we push, and we don't fall into the pool. We control our movement. You know, you watch those guys with the balls. They sometimes they're caught with their elbows bent, but if they don't lock that elbow out, they're going to be like that. But when they lock that elbow out and they get their body weight low, so that they're hitting that ball this way, they send it pretty good. You hit the ball this way, you ain't going nowhere. Okay, and if you're up in the air, it takes too much force for you. You can't generate. The longer your leg is, the less torque you're going to generate. Just the way it is. So you gotta just think of an avalanche. Does the snow have an engine? No, it's just gravity. It's pulling it down the hill. Bicycle going down the hill. That's you want to do that, not that.
Steve, have you got anything else you want to ask Coach?
Hey, Coach, just review your scoot footwork again. Obviously, from red, yellow to green. Just explain it one more time.
Okay. Well, first place, red, green, and yellow are when you're, the analogy. Okay, green light. What do you do when you're driving your car? What do? You go.
You go. You press on the gas. You accelerate. You go.
Right. So if you have a guy, if you're running gap or zone, you have a gap. Okay, no matter whether it's zone this way or gap that way, I have that gap. So if I got a guy in the gap, go green light. Okay. If I have to scoot to cover him up, it's green light, but I got to use a different technique because I'd like to get in front of him.
Yes.
So that's where we learned to scoot.
Hey, y'all, keep going, okay? I got another guy, but I'm just gonna let it keep running. So just y'all go as long as you want, and I'll just edit out the dead air, okay? So y'all just keep going as long as y'all want to.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So the that's green light. Okay. Red light is there's nobody in my gap. There's nobody that's close enough for me to touch. Okay. And should I hurry into the intersection and get T-boned by a pickup? So I want to slow down. I want to wait. Okay. So how do I wait? Well, we shuffle. We jitterbug. There's whatever you want to do, but we try to keep the seaside leg back in that instance. Okay. And then yellow light is I got a guy that's he might be a little bit to the right or a little bit to the left, but he's a threat to both gaps, and he's on me.
Right.
Okay? He's like, I can touch him, no problem, no matter where he is. And the yellow light for us is when you come to a yellow light, you don't go, you don't stop, you decide. And once you decide, now you try and define him. We don't like two gap. We don't like people lagging on us or driving us backwards or anything like that. We like them either in our gap or in the other guy's gap.
Right.
So we try to define that. Well, in green light, like let's say I have a 3 technique over here and I want to run C-gap zone and I'm the guard. We learned how to scoot. We learned how to get in front of somebody who wasn't in front of us without getting our ass knocked back. Okay. And we can go over scoot if you want to, but that.
Yeah, I would love to. Yeah.
So scoot footwork was a brace step and another brace step that allowed us to adjust the third step wherever we had to go. So if the guy was sitting, we'd go get him. If he was lagging, we'd cover his outside number. If he was running, we could just take that third step and run with him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If it was a match, if we had a guy here and it was green light and we were running it over here, we wouldn't want to cross color. So we would start by a brace and then we'd put him between our feet. And it would might give him an illusion, but we didn't want to go right at him because he'd shove us back in our stance and constrict the hole.
Right.
So we wanted to step deep and give him the illusion that we were scooting him, and then we would just use the leverage. Now, if we had a guy here, okay, a two-gap guy, if we were running C-gap, it was always a problem because if you stayed square on him, you might get picked, okay? And plus, what do? Now, we scoot would be okay, but he's really lagging behind us. So now we sort of had to put the brakes on. So we started thinking about it. We said, well, why don't we just shoulder roll, okay? Because if he lags, we got him blocked. If he runs, we grab him. He's turned into green light. And if he gets off of us, the next guy's going to get him, and we're hanging out. As soon as he gets off of us, we square up into red light. We're square to air. Yeah. Now, if it's an A gap, okay, what we did with this guy, let's say we were running the ball inside the guard, okay, we used to fool around with wrong foot and, not step into our gap and all that. Well, we said, we're not going to do that. We're going to step to our gap, roll the shoulder down, and then dig him out with both hands. So if anything hit the gap, we grab that and the hell with him.
Right.
If anything run through anything like that. But if we had foldovers, we had to get the center up on the foldover. We dig him out. So we go ahead and put both hands in there and dig his ass out. And the center would come over and hammer him.
Yeah.
We're talking about A gap zone. I gave up on B gap zone. Don't even run it. Wouldn't even run it anymore. So A gap zone, I'm the guard. The guy's right here. Now, specifically for each position, the guard and the tackle don't change. Okay. The center, we never cover with the center. So the center's always an Apache on C gap, and he could be a match guy on A gap, but we never ask him to get in front of somebody who's not in front of him. We either ask him to circle him, okay, or match him. We don't the B gap, it's hard for him.
Yeah.
It's hard for him.
No,
okay, so that was it. So I don't know if that helped you or hurt you, but let's say we're running power.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's say we're running power, and I'm the left guard now.
Okay.
I got a guy in my gap. Okay. I'm going to roll the shoulder. Before I would just go ahead and match him. Boom. Okay. Now I'll roll the shoulder down and I'll block him. Okay. We say that you're in the stovepipe. The back is going to go right where you're going. So we want to try and get in front of him, but we're not running over there. We're running right behind me, but the back will run off of me if I can get him covered.
Yes.
Okay. And we don't care about hooking him as much, so we don't need to scoot. So the shoulder roll became fine. If I'm red light, it depends on who I'm comboing with, but generally if I'm that guard, I'm going to double team with the center, and we're taking the double team that way
to the backside backer. Yeah. And
the center's probably got to get off. If he's getting off, he tells me sweep, and he goes, and I'm just, in other words, if there's a 3 technique that he's blocking back on, he's going to sweep it. I'm going to put my head in front of this guy and try to turn him that way. And this tackle's going to go right through his hip. He's going to try and brush my hip and go to the back backer. If it's yellow light, I'm going to roll the shoulder and have the tackle kill him, and then we're going to carry him to the back backer. Mm-hmm. And in A gap stuff, we don't count heads anymore. We go spots.
Spots, gotcha. Good.
Because if the count hat is way out there, somebody's coming to hit this thing.
Yeah. Okay, so that's such a scoot footwork. All right, now what's the main difference between a scoot and a shuffle then?
Well, a shuffle, you're uncovered.
You're uncovered. Yeah,
You're in the red light.
yeah.
You're just trying to stay in an integrity. You're trying to stay in a fighting position.
Yeah, and just
You can't have your weight. You have to have your weight over you.
Yeah.
So the way we said was, we're square to air. We're keeping the outside leg, or the leg we're going right. We keep the right leg back. And we just shuffle. And if it's A gap, if I'm a guard, if it's A gap, I'm going to shuffle one step, and then I'm going to start rewinding. Nothing hits me from the C side, I'm going to shut it off on the backside.
Yeah.
So I would rewind right away. That's where the people say, well, your jitterbug drill, I don't know if you remember, if you ever saw the jitterbug drill.
I don't know if I have or not. I don't know if I'm more familiar with the scoot and shuffle. I don't know about the jitterbug. I'm not sure if I see
drill. So we would say to the kids, okay, you got your tennis ball, brace, place, rewind, shuffle, hammer.
Oh yeah.
So
is that on Ball State drills?
It went all the way back to Elon.
Yeah, Elon. Okay. Yeah.
So what we were doing again was we were controlling acceleration and trying to keep that blocking integrity. Jim used to call it a demeanor. Stay in a position where if anybody attacks you, you don't get murdered. If you don't see them, and if it's time for you to attack, you don't have to drop down.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You have that. You're already in that condensed position.
Yes. No, so I love it.
That would be red light. Okay.
Yeah, be red light. Correct. Yeah.
So C gap, you'd shuffle. No more. I think we said no more. If we're going to the right, we'd stay in the shuffle for no more than 3 right steps.
Mm-hmm.
And once it's 3, you better go get somebody.
You gotta go. Yeah, right. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, go. Yeah.
Put the brakes on. If your hat goes backside and you've pierced already, you're just chasing him, and the nose is in behind you.
Yeah.
If you go through your shuffle, 1, 2, 3, and he starts to go blindside on you, you just rewind and shut the nose off. You're in business.
Yeah. That's good. That's really good stuff. Love it. Yes, sir. Man.
So all we were trying to do in red light, if it was red light A gap, it would be no more than 2, and really it was pretty much one go get him. But we figured 1, if there was a loop, we'd pick it up. If say you're the center, you're going to a 3 technique, and you go smoking out of there, and the end comes in loops. He's in the backfield. But if you hold that thing for at least a step, which is actually 2 steps,
right
foot, left foot, he'll get there. You'll pick him up.
Yeah. No, that's good stuff, Coach. That's awesome. That is good stuff. Yeah. No, I've enjoyed your man. Gosh, I've been watching you for years. I just enjoyed it, and so thankful, and I'm trying to implement it. And it's just so good just to talk to you, man, with discussion. And I know my nephew visited you a while ago, and I asked him how it was. He just loved it. It was so cool. It was so awesome.
He's pretty good now.
Yeah, I know. He's gonna. Yeah, he is. I'm really proud of him.
I thought he was going to get hired over here at North Carolina Central. I don't know who the guy hired. Obviously, they're pretty good guy because they're playing pretty good. But
yeah,
I thought that I think he'd help anybody.
Yeah, no doubt in my mind. 100%. Yeah, man, you keep doing what you're doing, Coach. Man, I appreciate it. We're listening.
All I'm doing now is talking on the computer. I don't do anything.
Hey, I loved when you spoke at the Coop Clinic, man. You did a great job. That was so good. Good.
Yeah, that was like 100 years ago.
When was that? What year was that? I don't remember. That was so good.
The last time I spoke was 2015.
Yeah, no, I've rewatched that over and over. I go back to that. I watch that. I love it. Love your analogy.
I might have had I think after that with JB Grimes and me, but we were the Friday night edition.
Yes. Yeah.
I think the last time I spoke, the Saturday night edition was, or the Saturday afternoon edition was, I think it was 2015.
Yeah.
That was when we first came out with this. Really, we defined it as circular force torque.
Right. No,
We might have been on the undercard there too.
I know. You think they'll ever go back? Because I know since COVID, it's always been, obviously, never in person again. I want to go back in person again with that clinic. I don't know.
Well, I don't do much clinicking. This is my clinicking right here, and
absolutely, I love it.
I don't watch anybody. I'll watch a guy for like 5 minutes, and I just go,
Yeah.
If he says something good, I like it. If he says something lousy, I'm like, I turn it off.
I hear you. Love it. Well,
but I'm not coaching, so there's no. I'm just recounting the stuff that we did, and
so good.
Seems to be. I see the double teams now where they're not trying to take people straight back; they're trying to take them at an angle. I'll see things that look similar to what I believe, and on TV, and I kind of like it. I'll see things that are not like what I believe, and I laugh, And I was watching a playoff game, and they were trying to run C gap, and they have I'm not going to tell you who it was because piss people off.
Yeah, right, yeah.
But they had a 2-eye on the guard, a 5 technique on tackle or wider, and they had that guard smoking out of there in the center trying to Apache without any help.
Without any help at all.
And the 2-eye was just killing the tailback.
Yeah, coming through, yeah.
Fabulous tailback was just getting
wreaking havoc, yeah. In the backfield,
I'm scratching my head saying this guy's probably making $500,000, and they're not. If that center could do that, why would you do anything else? Just do that every down.
Right. Yeah.
Wow. Just went smoking out of there. Yellow light. He's just going. And scratching my head like, I don't know.
No, I just love that concept because all guys, I think they've gotten it where it's like, okay, we're here to help each other, not just go. You're exactly right. So we're timing it all up, and I love it. I love that analogy. I just love it. Yes.
Well, the concept is pace. Okay.
Pace. Yes.
We said to the kids, look, we don't play full speed. We play full throttle.
Full throttle. I love that. Absolutely. Yep. The throttle. Yes.
Like sometimes
your engine is throttling, right? You're at the stoplight. Your engine's still running, right?
And full throttle. Sometimes we want to go fast. Green light, we want to go.
Right.
Red light, we want to wait. Yellow light, we want to decide.
Yeah.
And I got a video that says that the game is played full throttle, not full speed. Running and fast and all that depends. It depends on
right
on the situation. So
no doubt.
I don't know. I've had fun. I've been around. I've been able to meet a lot of good dudes, and some of these NFL guys have been really good to me, and Jim McNally's been good to me, and a lot of college coaches. So I've had a it's been fun, but I think I'm done. I don't know. I would still do it, but nobody seems interested. So,
well, it's becoming a young man's game. It seems like as the older we get, it's like we're kind of getting pushed. I don't know, but you have added so much value to our great sport. You continue to do that, so don't stop. I'm serious.
Well,
do not
stop. I appreciate you saying that. I like to think that I've helped.
Absolutely, 100%, no doubt about it. I'm telling you.
Well, I don't know. What are we supposed to do now?
Huh?
What are we supposed to do?
Right.
You got any other questions or anything?
No, I'll call you. I got to get moving here. But I'm gonna start talking to you a little bit more about certain things. I would love to do that. Yeah. So I got your phone number, and I'll make sure I'll reach out and we'll touch base. Okay.
Sure. Absolutely.
Appreciate it.